have full attendance tonight. Would the clerk please call the roll?
President Richardson, Trustee Burke,
Here.
Trustee Mitchell, Trustee Perkins,
Here.
Trustee Rigby,
Here.
Trustee Schaller,
Here.
Trustee Thompson.
Thank you. Would you all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Agenda item number 4, approval of minutes. We have both minutes from the special committee of the whole meeting from June the 6th, as well as meeting minutes from the Board of Trustees meeting also on June the 6th. Does anyone have any questions, comments, corrections for the clerk on those meeting notes?
There is a correction. Sorry, I'm just trying to find my paperwork to point it out. Sorry.
I got it, if you did, like Lisa. On the June 6th regular meeting of the Board of Trustees, item 8, the very last paragraph where it says a motion was made, the third line should read $184,439.75.
Okay, thank you. Any other corrections, any other comments on that? Then with that change of standing, we can motion to approve in block the minutes from the special committee, the whole meeting on June the 6th, as well as the Board of Trustees meeting on June the 6th. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Trustee Schaller, seconded by Trustee Thompson. Voice vote, all in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Approved. Thank you. Item number 5 on the agenda are President's remarks. Unfortunately, President Richardson could not be here due to traveling for business. So there will be no President remarks tonight. Which brings us to agenda item number 6, which is the first opportunity for the public to address the board for non-agenda items. I spoke with Mr. Fisher briefly. Would you like to come forward, Mr. Fisher? And would you please start by introducing yourself and giving us your address for the record, please?
Yeah, I'm Warren Fisher. I live at 22319 North Linden Drive in the Pheasant Ridge development, which is off Kelsey Road. I've been a resident there for 28 years. I'd like to talk to you about 3 things. Most importantly, the flooding that has occurred on my property, probably for the 4th or 5th time since I've been living there. And for the first time, I was present when I can see, in my opinion, what is a definite cause to that, or contributed to that, a significant contributor to that, and that is the industrial park that I back up into. There are 3 properties that back up to the industrial park. The homes on my right as you're facing my house, which is to the west, and the Weigels, which is to my left as you face my house, which is more to the east. The only 2 of us that got water was myself and Becky Weigel, who I spoke to earlier this morning. She had another meeting, and she was going to try and get here. If not, she said, you can speak on my behalf while I'm there. I noticed that when I was there, I mean, we've had a lot of rain in May and the beginning of June, so the ground was fairly saturated, as we all know. But then we had a terrific storm one night, and the water that came down, the volume of water that flowed onto my property from the industrial park was just unbelievable. I took videos of it, and I shared that with Karen Beltline afterwards. The reason that it flows like that is because there's a berm that runs the entire length of all our properties, with one exception. In the middle is a low point. And that really seems to drain the whole eastern portion, in my opinion, of the industrial park. The western portion, I think, which is where the Holmes' home is protected somewhat by a large storm culvert that was put in about 2 years ago, I think it was. And Karen, you can correct me if I make a mistake on timing, but 2 years.
Now, the culvert's been there for years.
Yeah, I think it was cleaned out and
Cleaned out.
reconstructed or whatever, and during that process, part of the fence that runs along the back side of our properties was was damaged, and that's going to be replaced. Yeah.
Could you explain to me who did that work?
Um,
Who did the clean out and
Oh, the village did that project in 2014. The flared-in section from where the water discharges from the storm sewer of the industrial park and of Hillview discharges behind Mr. Holmes' property, kind of on the corner of his property, and it flows via a ditch to the wetlands, which was the natural drainage pattern from when that subdivision was built, how the subdivision was designed. And the village reestablished that swale going back to the wetlands.
Yeah.
Was that part of the overall drainage work, continued drainage work? Was that done based upon feedback from residents or what, or did we know we have a problem back there?
I think that was brought about, I think by Mr. Fisher informing the village that there was a lot of water going on back there. And I don't know if the prior administrator got notice of the detached flared-in section or whatever, but then it was rebuilt.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so over again, the years that I've been there, I've spent a countless number of dollars between putting in a generator, between digging a secondary pit, between putting in ejector pumps. I have 3 ejector pumps that pump out 50 gallons of water a minute out of my house. And when that deluge came down, I even went to the rental property store and got another pump that I could drop in with a 5-inch drain for a fire hose. I couldn't get that all the way down the bottom of the pit, so eventually the water just rises, and it's not that the pits get overflowing. It's literally the water comes up between your foundation wall and your foundation floor. And so I got some more seepage in, which caused me to spend another $1,300 to clean that up. So my pumps went on June 22nd, and they went off yesterday for the first time since June 22nd. 3 pumps running continuously since June 22nd. So I followed up with Karen. She said we're looking at how it's draining on the east side of the industrial park. And when I followed up with her last week, she said, Mark, I found out that there's this, I think, a storm sewer there and a drainage pipe that were never connected. I don't know how many years they have never been connected, but they've never been connected. And we're going to dig it up and connect it. I hope that'll address the solution, be part of the solution to this problem. But I also believe that the flow of water has to simply be slowed down. And that can be accomplished by filling in that low point, either with gravel. I don't mind having the water drain into the property, but the volume that flowed into my property was just unbelievable. I was 3 inches deep in water up to my ankles when I went out there, and it just flows towards the property and then eventually flows to the west to the industrial park. So I don't know where we stand here on digging up and connecting those pipes, or those 2 pipes. And maybe you can fill us in on where that's at.
Well, this is our supposition that it's a pipe that hasn't been connected, and we won't know until Cuba Township can actually dig it up and check for sure.
And you don't have any timing on that?
No, I do not. It's on his work order list of things to do. So he will let me know, and I will let you know.
Any timing on when he will let you know?
The road commissioner and I talk about once a week about where we're at with all of our outstanding projects.
Okay. Well, I'll be following up with you anyways. You know I will. So I just need that to be addressed because I can't do this anymore. I just can't. The other couple of things I wanted to bring up, the culvert that sits in the front of the house that drains the natural drain on the properties and flows, it has not been, it's supposed to be maintained by the village. In my opinion, it's not being maintained very well because there are parts of it that don't drain and just standing water sits there. So there's mosquitoes breeding all the time, and I can't get it cleaned, I can't get it mowed because it's just muddy all the time. So I'd like the village to take a look at that culvert. And I think part of the problem is when snow plowing is done in the wintertime, even though I think the village remind the road crews not to plow it straight ahead and deposit all the snow in the end of the cul-de-sac, which is in front of my house, to distribute it amongst the different properties and the cul-de-sac. Sometimes they just forget, they just don't do it. They plow the snow up, and then when it gets too high, they plow further into the property beyond the culvert, and it just digs it up. And a lot of times in the spring, they come around repair it, and they put some grass seed down, they put some sand down, and they repair it, but it's just not draining properly, and it's just standing water sits there. So I'd like to have the village look at that. And the last but not least, I've talked to Karen about this as well. The property, our properties, the three properties, the homes, myself and the Weigels that border the industrial park, we paid for a fence. We, the three of the neighbors, Weigels weren't living there, but the previous owners. And we had a fence constructed along the perimeter. This fence is getting old, but we put steel posts in so we could replace sections as needed. And Karen saw some of the damage again that occurred on the western part of the fence line. And it's probably done by maybe a neighbor, maybe whoever's plowing snow. We just don't know who's done it. But I suggested to Karen, I said, if we could get some of those concrete Jersey barriers that you see out on the highway all the time and then do road construction, and just put those inside the fence line. Even if the snow plows came in and were plowing the property, they wouldn't go beyond that. There would be a buffer between the fence line and the industrial park. So I'd asked the village to look into that to see if that can be done. Because I'm not going to ask my neighbors to cough up some more money to replace the fence until we have a solution to prevent it from happening again. Because I just don't think by saying, don't plow the snow that far, it's going to work. It's just human nature telling me it's not going to work. And the other side of the industrial park, we don't have that problem because there's not open ground. And there's buildings there, and there's no cars that can come up against it and all that. There's just a natural break. But on the western side, there's a natural break. And there's the auto repair place, and then the Snelton properties, and that fence can be damaged. So I'd like to see if that village can consider getting those Jersey barriers put in there before I ask my neighbors to say, let's repair the fence. So those are the three things I have. And again, my neighbor, Becky Weigel, she's probably going to come tonight, but she'll probably be a little late. She also got water in her basement, and she said, I can't go out of town. Whenever we have a lot of rain, I can't go out of town because I'm afraid of losing power. Expressed my concern to the village as well, because I think her property and my property are the ones that are impacted by the industrial park the most. I know there's another pond that gets created on the Scott property that is natural wetlands, but that drains slowly, and that water's flowing in, again towards the wetlands as well, and I think we help facilitate the drainage of that, because I think if it finds our drainage tile, and we pump that out as well over time. I know that can't be mitigated anyway because it's my property, but there are, and I don't know if any of my other neighbors had flooding issues. Karen, I don't know if anybody called you, but I know a few people, I saw them parking out on their doorstep, so to speak.
Yeah, no, nobody's reporting.
Okay, so I'll be in touch to see what's going on with that pipe.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for coming by and letting us know. Is there anyone else at this point in the meeting that would like to address the board on non-agenda items? If so, please come forward. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Please state your name and
Maria Peterson from North Barrington. All of you know I'm a candidate for Lake County Board, and I'm just letting you know that I'm still going to come to the board meetings, and even though while I'm knocking on doors, and some of you may hear, oh, this lady's walking around knocking on doors, and that would be me. So, but I still want to stay on top with what's going on, because if you want to be a sharp member, then you need to know what's going on in the communities. So that's it. Thank you.
well, great. Thank you for stopping by and saying hello. We appreciate it. Anyone else seeking recognition? I see none. Therefore, we can move on to agenda item number 7, which is our consent agenda. Consists of a number of items, including engineering services, iron removal filter tank startup, Old Barrington Road resurfacing project, consideration of disposal of public records, security cameras at the Fryer Farm, a temporary use permit for the Fryer Farm from the Bravehearts. All of these were discussed in great detail in our committee of the whole meeting. So before we vote on this by omnibus vote, I just want to see if there's any other questions, comments, or concerns about any of these items that we discussed, or anyone?
I think the only question I have is, do we need, when you do a construction engineering service contract, to have a book?
Yeah, I actually, my mind was going back and forth on that, so I did give you the complete contract documents, and the reason for that is just in case you had questions on any of it. So I just thought it would be best to put it all in there. Our contracts are long, and maybe I could just put the highlights.
Yeah, maybe a good idea, in case we have any questions.
Yeah.
Okay, from work.
Yep, that's true.
If I can interrupt, this is my neighbor, Becky White.
Hi. Nice to see you all. You can interrupt right now.
Nice to see you. I'm sorry, we've moved on past that agenda item. So if you'd like to stick around, and when we finish, we're in the middle of a vote right now.
I think I've expressed it.
Yeah, I don't need to say anything else, I just.
Okay, yeah, he spoke very well on your
Right,
behalf. So
thank
for
you,
coming.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry.
We
No,
answered.
I was just
You
asking.
answered, yeah, that's quite a path.
Yeah, the residents.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think we may have discussed that, and there's there's kind of a, it's your preference rather than what's legally required. I mean, all the documents are a book or a hefty magazine, but we don't want to be selective and feel like you're not getting everything. But I think probably we can't give you an abbreviated contract and it'll say within the specifications, and you'll probably have the guts on it.
Yeah, right, if we want more information, obviously, we can always request it, and with just go ahead and put it on the building,
Yeah.
Bring my paper, did you?
I think that's a fair
Yeah.
request, and I actually like that, because I was thinking the same thing, it really makes the package huge. For those of us who may want more detail.
Yeah. Kind of print it around.
Some kind of executive summary would be great.
That's what I do with the memo, so it's
Yeah,
fine.
that's great, yeah, thank you, Jennifer, for that. Any other questions, comments?
I just wanted to, I guess, reiterate it again on item D, on the resurfacing project of Old Barrington Road. The funding for that specifically is coming from where? I think we've had-
That is coming from school impact fees, not our general fund.
Right,
Yes.
so we have that, but it's not part of our reserves or our budget.
Correct.
And our ordinance provides that school impact fees can either be used to share with the school district for their support of new schools and new school land, or it can be used by us for infrastructure necessary and related to schools. And that's where that is I think, the good rationale for using it over there.
Well thought to use it.
Yeah, good distinction. And this is funding that we lose if we don't use, correct?
Yeah, we lose it next fall.
Next fall, so it's quite timely too.
Thank you.
And do we have, I mean, do we have yet scheduled construction for this?
Yes, yes we do. So that is expected.
You're not saying?
No, right. Well, the contract will be awarded
Okay.
in this thing, but later on in the packet, but it would be probably, the pre-con hasn't happened yet, so
Okay.
pre-construction, so later this summer.
Coming later this summer. Perfect. Very good. Any other further discussion, comments, questions on the consent agenda items? If there is no other, Chair would like a motion to approve by omnibus vote items on all these consent items that we've discussed this evening. May I have this motion, please?
So moved.
Second. Moved by Trustee Shallow, second by Trustee Thompson. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Schaller?
Yes.
Trustee Thompson?
Yes.
Trustee Burke?
Yes.
Trustee Perkins?
Yes.
Trustee Rigby?
So approved, thank you. Next item on the agenda is item number 8, the treasurer's report. Mrs. Hirsch, would you like to
Happy to.
present, please?
Absolutely, good afternoon, good evening. You have before you the financial statements for the 1 month ended May 31st, 2018. We're in our first month of our new fiscal year. So it's, we don't need to draw, too much back and forth comparison on this. It is just 1 month.
Could you wait 1 minute? I'm still scrolling through the engineering contract.
So we get some coffee.
Now I got okay. I think I'm there. No, I'm there. Sorry, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine, you're totally fine. Okay, so looking at the flash report, we're on page 2 right now. We have assets of $3,047,000. We have liabilities of $1,430,000. Our equity is $1,617,000. So that makes our liabilities and our equity equal to our assets at $3,047,000. Our revenue for the first month is $335,000 and expenses are $185,000, resulting in net income of $150,000. In comparison to this point last year, net income was $16,000. You'll see the biggest difference is our total revenues. That may seem like a lot. The other revenues this year, $90,000. That's primarily from the Wanakee Trust distribution. We took the assets in to pay for the parking lot construction coming up this weekend. And a lot of people took advantage of paying their real estate taxes early in 2017 to get that tax deduction. So we did get a little bit of Lake County taxes earlier this year than last year. So that's the biggest difference in our net revenue this month versus last month. Any questions on that?
Could you tell us roughly like what percent, what percentage more of that tax that we got early? And
It was only $60,000 versus, you can look at, the nice thing about our 1 month is you can look on the flash report, and that's 1 month compared to 1 month. So,
yep.
yeah, it was about $197,000. And June's a significant difference as well, when we see next month's results as well. Higher payments earlier. Okay, so I guess we'll flip forward to page 7 and 8 to the actual budget report. Once again, you'll see our total revenues are 11% actual to budget. The biggest difference is our real estate taxes are 14% actual to budget. We also collected all of our business licenses and our food and liquor licenses at the beginning of the calendar, of the fiscal year, which will obviously, it's a timing difference, boost up our actual to budget. You'll see one's at 100% and one's at 75% actual to budget under permits and licenses. On page 8, you'll see our expenditures at 6% actual to budget. So that's below, just slightly below our 1 month, which would be 8%. We haven't paid for a whole lot of things quite yet. It's just been our first month. You'll notice that our donation line is at 85% actual to budget. That number, that's pretty much is, once again, it's a timing difference. We paid those all up front this fiscal year. Do you have any questions on the actual budget? I know it's just 1 month. It's not a big comparison you're looking at. Okay, let's turn to page 10 for the motor fuel tax fund. Actually, that's the income statement is page 10. The balance sheet is on page 9, I believe. Yep. So we have cash available about $310,000. That's planned to cover our planned expenses, so we pay for the rest of the span was budgeted and paid for, what we paid for out of this fiscal year. That's about $218,000 for that contract. Page 12 is the water sewer fund. Nothing to really to mention there of interest. We have a net current assets of $1,462,000. Our capital plan for this year is $280,000 in planned expenditures in fiscal year 19. Obviously, we have plenty to cover for that. much else to mention there. And then on page 15 is the balance sheet for the open space fund. And the open space operating checking account, which is used for capital improvements, there's $270,496. The $76,000 in the open space bond bank account that we use to pay the next bond payment in October. That's going to build up over the next couple of months. And the only activity that was in this account this past month was some legal services related to the potential purchase of property in that account. So that's all I have on the funds. Any questions before I move on to accounts payable? Okay, so the accounts payable, you have the warrants in front of you. Those have been reviewed and are in order for your approval. There are a number of unusual requests this month. I mean, they're not, totally unusual, but they're budgeted amounts that just you don't see each month. There's some work for Cuba Township, some culvert work, $4,300. Municipal CMI or ICMA, that's our website hosting service, and that's $31.96 for the year. Sharp Architects for phase 1 of the Village Hall Assessment Study, that's $3,279 owed to them. Speedway, we're going to pay them $2,549, and that's their share under the sales tax rebate agreement for the December sales tax collected. And then Motor Fuel Tax Fund, there is a pay request for $149,707 to Geske and Sons, and that's the second pay request for the Savannah subdivision. And that total contract amount was $218,000. And as I mentioned, all these amounts have been budgeted and they have received prior board approval. They are in the warrants for your approval this evening. And I have nothing else. Any questions?
Thank you. Any other questions for Mrs. Hirsch? Thank you very much. With that said, Chair would like a motion to approve in block financial statements as of May 31st, 2018. Pay bills in the amount of $375,924.59 as listed in the accounts payable warrant A dated July 10th, 2018. C, paid bills in the amount of $10,335.16 as listed on the accounts payable warrant B dated July 10th. Do I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Moved by Trustee Rigby,
Second.
seconded by Trustee Thompson. Clerk, please call the roll.
Trustee Rigby,
Aye.
Trustee Thompson,
Yes.
Trustee Burke,
Yes.
Trustee Perkins,
Yes.
Trustee Schaller,
Yes.
Okay, so approved, thank you. Next on the agenda, item number 9.
One of the expenses, just some said, one of the expenses we covered is Clark mosquito. How many times have we actually sprayed these people?
We're up to 4 right now. They sprayed 3 times in June. They sprayed last Friday. And depending on weather conditions, they're expected to spray for the next 3 Fridays as well. Just because of the perfect weather we've had for mosquitoes.
Thank you. I'm sure they're going to be asking tomorrow to
But
report out.
can I add one more comment on that?
Sure.
Because we have received calls about that. And when I talk to people about mosquito spraying, what I like to emphasize is we're spraying our ditches and our catch basins, because like in Pepper Park, we have some catch basins, for mosquitoes in the public right of way. We're not spraying for people's backyards, but that does mist out like about 300 feet, and depending on the wind, it can go even further. But I think sometimes people have an expectation that when we spray the right-of-way, that that's supposed to be for their backyard barbecue on Saturday afternoon. That's not what we do. So there's been a lot of public education to that. We refer people a lot to our website, which has a link to Clark's website. People can get notice of when Clark sprays. So I get an email and an alert on my phone. You can go to the Clark portal through our website and sign up for that. So.
And instead of the old flogging method, it's a different approach, so you.
It's a silent
might not be-
mister.
You might not be quite as noticed
Right.
as you did in the past.
Right,
The
right,
state was going through and flogging the neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's not that way anymore.
yeah.
It doesn't make the same telltale sound or?
It's
No, it's-
sound
it's
or visual.
Yeah.
Yeah, you used to hear it coming.
Hear it and you'd see it,
Yeah.
yeah.
And you saw it.
Yeah, right.
And when we used to hear it and see it, we got fewer phone calls.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe they can put some kind of sound.
Like, with their,
Yeah.
make a sound.
Send the drones through.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Thanks for clarifying, explaining that, Karen, appreciate that. Okay, so moving on, agenda item number 9, the administrator's report.
Yeah, I have a few things. In conjunction with Trustee Shower's comments about the mosquito spraying, the Lake County Health Department is encouraging drain, defend, dawn to dusk, and dress. And basically what that means is get rid of the standing water. If you've got a bird bath in your yard, empty it every other day. Put clean water. Don't let water stand in a bird bath or stuff in your yard or whatever. And just be aware of that and to use mosquito repellent and to protect yourself and wear long sleeve shirts if you need to. Secondly, I met with our Commonwealth Edison External Affairs Manager a few weeks ago regarding our local emergency energy plan and review of our reliability performance. And what was impressive to me is that these transmission operations that ComEd uses are actually managed by a different party, and they coordinate the flow of electricity to over 5,000 miles of transmission lines in 14 states. So we think we're getting our electric from ComEd, which we kind of are, but the transmission lines where all this electric is going is another company, and they figure out like who needs power, when and where, and what can be, like if something happens, right? And ComEd keeps all kinds of statistics. And for like Barrington, we experienced a 99.98% reliability rate in 2017. And what that means is that most of Lake Barrington residents did not experience any outages whatsoever. There were a total of 39 interruptions, which each interrupted affected from 1 to 152 customers. So every time the power goes out, they've got these statistics of how many households it affects, where it's at, what's happening. And they have them ranked by was it weather-related, squirrel-related, animal-related, or their equipment failure or something. So it's, with our smart meters and everything else, has greatly improved the reliability. So I thought that was pretty, it was an education for me. I attended the SWACO meeting on June 7th, and the recycling markets were a topic of discussion. I think I might have mentioned this in the past. And how right now what's happening is the waste industries are beginning to talk about the need for its customers to start paying more for recycling due to the poor markets. So what's happened is China, who's our primary country that takes our garbage, basically, and our recycling, they have said it has to meet a cleaner standard. So if you have, leftover yogurt in your yogurt cup or something, it's like, they're like, no, we're not taking this. So all of a sudden, the last couple of months, what's happening is all these gazillions of tons of garbage we're sending over to China, they're saying, no, we're not taking it anymore. So that's created havoc in the waste and recycling industry for what are we going to do with this stuff. Waste Management actually reached out to SWACO and said, hey, we'd like to go back to our customers and ask for a rate increase. And as you recall, we just recently entered into a contract with Waste Management. Our contract does not have a provision where they can raise these rates. And I had Attorney Bateman check just to make sure. He said that's what our contract says. So if they do come back and ask, we'll most likely say no, because in all the years that they were making money on recycling, we weren't getting a share of that. I mean, it is what it is. But SWACO has said they're going to start working on more education to clean up the recyclables, and it's a cart tagging program they used in some towns. So if you put out, they're not doing this here yet, but basically what it is, if you put out stuff that's not supposed to be recycled or not clean enough, they put a little note on your recycling bin, and then the next time if it hasn't worked or whatever, they don't take it. And they're also working, are willing to work with the waste industry on statewide legislation to pass a plastic bag fee. So these little plastic bags that we all get our groceries in, or you don't use recyclable bags or paper, a lot of people put their recyclables in a plastic bag and put them in the recycling cart. Those bags stop the machines because it tears up, the machines can't process that. So it shuts down the line, it causes all kinds of havoc, plus, you know, they float around and stuff. So anyway, they're working on those kind of things, and it's the waste haulers are going back to their customers and saying, can we put your recyclables in a landfill for right now? And if Waste Management wants to do this, our contract says they have to come back and get our permission first, and they may be doing that. But
You know where that would be?
I don't know if they take it to Gray's Lake, or, you know, that's where they take most of ours right now, but it hasn't happened yet in the Midwest, but it might be coming if we can't get things worked out with China. So, on a happier note, the CFC interns were here last week along Old Barrington Road, and they applied herbicide to the buckthorn resprouts along Old Barrington Road. And that'll help a lot with the oak trees that are going to be planted later this fall by CFC that will be purchasing a few oak trees from their plant sale. So that's all good. And also, as a follow-up to our drainage meeting with Farm Trails, myself and the HOA reached out to Citizens for Conservation regarding the condition of Wagner fen. We had received a lot of complaints about the invasive species in the fen. And so in late June, CFC sprayed the Canada thistle and bird's foot at Wagner fen. So both of these species are very invasive, and they're hoping that they'll kill off some of these and then allow them to plant some natives that will be better for the site restoration. Let's see. And last but not least, I have been selected as the recipient of the Robert O'Neill ICMA Conference Travel Scholarship to attend the 2018 ICMA conference. It's a $1,500 scholarship in honor of the previous ICMA director, Bob O'Neill, and the stipend will cover my registration fee and a good part of my travel expenses. And I included on in front of you at the dais the letter that I wrote for my application, which was very thankful that even though we're a small town and that the board had graciously agreed to pay my way, you know, that we still are a small town and economic development is something we're still working on. So,
Congratulations.
Yes.
Yes, well done. Thank you.
Congratulations on your order.
Just as a note, I think Waste Management already is attaching little sticky notes.
oh, cheers.
Not to mine, but to a neighbor's.
To your-
Yeah, to an
okay.
LDS that had diapers and they were recycling bin.
Yeah.
They had a little note that says, we don't take it.
Yeah, they'll do that already for that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's a little above and beyond.
Yeah.
the education, but yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah, it's interesting up in Canada with the recycling, they're very particular, and their message to you is if they see anything in those bins they don't like, it just doesn't go.
Yeah.
So if people wrap their cans and bottles in plastic bags,
They won't take it.
it just doesn't go. It'll sit there until you figure out.
yeah.
Or if they mix the plastic and the glass and the paper, it doesn't go.
So maybe in the long run, this will be a good thing because we'll learn how to recycle
There needs to
properly.
be more education,
Yeah.
no doubt.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that very comprehensive report, and particularly for being proactive and staying on top of these the waste management issues, because those are definitely things that we want to be out in front of. Agenda item number 10, clerk's report.
I have nothing to report this month.
Thank you for that.
Oh, gee.
Moving quickly right along. Reports of the standing committees. Brandon Communications President Richardson is not here, and I do not believe is there any report that he left for anyone. If not, we'll go to Community Relations, Special Events, and Veterans Affairs. Trustee Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Interim President.
You're welcome. Nothing to report then.
First, a couple things on the veterans. The veterans have asked me to thank the village again for the wonderful sponsorship they continue to provide so that the veterans can do some terrific things for veterans. One of the things that we do is Trustee Rigby is a member of MOA, and the Veterans of LBS every year provides some funding, a grant to a senior college student who is a veteran and part of a veteran family, which is really terrific, we think. And we thank MOA for that opportunity. We're going to have on Saturday, August 11th, I know this is a little early, but wanted to announce to everyone who's watching at home that the Veterans of LBS are participating with the Bravehearts in an equine therapy group at Friar Farm from beginning at 1 p.m. The Bravehearts does a wonderful job nationally in working with veterans with PTSD via their equine therapy program. It's a wonderful event, and they'll even be serving cookies and lemonade. So everyone come out. And another one, it'll save the date for everyone, September 22nd, Rolling Thunder, which is a POW MIA international group dedicated to returning all U.S. military remains. They'll be at Lake Barrington Shores at 1 p.m. They'll do their famous motorcycle ride throughout LBS, and then at the Marina Lawn, they'll have a presentation of all the things they do. And their watchwords are, "We will never forget." Now, Village Wall Mural. We're scheduled to begin early August. We need to do an RFP to add the logo link, the logo information in Oasis of Graceful Countryside Living. So speaking with Administrator Karen Dalton-Lang, we're going to be putting together an RFP for 3 different companies to do that work for us prior to the young ladies from Barrington High School doing the wall mural. Focus groups. Working with Administrator Karen Dalton-Lang to develop a comprehensive list of potential participants. We're working on that now, and our village clerk, Lisa Pena-Talapa, has been wonderful in getting people who come in to give her their information about where they live and how long they've been there and so forth, which is a real nice piece of work for us. Thank you. Last but not least, the farmers market. To date, the farmers market has not increased the number of vendors. They're having roughly 7 to 10 or 11 every week. And I've been talking with Village Administrator Karen Dalton-Lang about what to do to assist the farmers market. We've already, the farmers market has already contacted Max Strategies, and are working with them to produce a public relations campaign that everyone hopes will increase the number of people attending the events. And I think for 2019, what we want to do is we want to sit down and have a very comprehensive discussion about what to do with the farmers market and how to run it, and possibly have someone come in and do that and run it and get the vendors, etc. So we'll be talking about that through the rest of the next couple of months and come back to you with a report on where we are with that. And that's all I have, Mr. Interim President.
Thank you, Trustee Thompson. Wonderful job as always. Next, we have a report on economic development. That would be me. Briefly, we covered in pretty great detail during the committee of the whole meeting earlier tonight the committee, which was consisting of Administrator Dalton-Lang, Kathleen Scott from Scott Partners, who is our economic development consultant, and myself, and we presented to the board our first draft of an economic development plan for their review. We reviewed that in some detail and have asked for feedback from the board, which we will, Administrator Dalton-Lang will collect over the next few weeks. We'll reconvene on that we will incorporate that feedback and we will come back to the board, hopefully next month, with any updates to that and enhancements to that plan. So I'm happy to report that we're making great progress, and our goal was to have that plan in place close to the middle of the year as we could. So I think we're in a pretty good position to be able to do that feedback from the board. So appreciate the board's time on that and input on that to make that a great working document. And, that is my report. Next, we have external relations. President Richardson is not here to give a report, so I turn to Trustee Wrigley to give us his report on finance, human resources, and administration.
Thank you. I just have one item tonight. As you recall, in our new system of donations, the majority of our donations have already been administered for this year. We received a letter back from the Barrington area county agent, and it says, and I want to read the letter just to get it in the record. We're so grateful to the Village of Lake Barrington for your generous donation of $1,500. Thank you. The Village of Lake Barrington's longtime support has helped older adults stay healthy, independent, and connected to their community. It's helped families find support and encouragement when they need it the most. Helping Barrington area seniors has been Bacoa's mission for more than 30 years. We're especially grateful for your continued commitment to our programs and services, not only through your financial support, but also through your volunteers' work for our programs. On behalf of Bacoa and those we serve, thank you very much. Best wishes for the years ahead. And signed, Joyce Palmquist, the Executive Director, and Susan Olson, Director of Communications and Development. That's all I have.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Item G, Public Safety and Gated Communities, Trustee Schaller.
Thank you, sir. Barrington area, the Countryside Fire Protection District, attend their meeting and the Wakanda Fire Protection District meetings. Interesting to note that they have $735,000 in their fund for the Barrington Countryside Fire Protection District and $1,101,000 in the Wakanda District, so they're well funded. The difference is Barrington Countryside is a contract type of arrangement with their personnel for the most part. Wakanda, they have several $1 million in their pension fund, but we're still fortunate that we have the services of both of those companies that take care of the entire village with mutual aid. Interesting, they had 17 types of fires that the Wakanda District responded to in May, and 241 rescue calls. There have been 1,114 rescue calls year to date. So it's amazing when you see that ambulance run
How many
down.
was that?
That's Wakanda.
How many was that?
1,114 year to date. You see them come down Kelsey Road and through the property down into Shepherd Hospital. They're making a lot of runs when it comes to this area. Janet Angelotti from Baycog set out, I think their goal would be to create a regional communications document for their members to include and use in their emergency operating plan. And so I think that was sent to Administrator Carol Dalton Lang to talk about regional communications and proceeding with that. So maybe we can meet with that and move forward with that, as well as, the emergency operation plan that we've been working on updating that a little bit.
Slowly but slowly.
Yeah, right, yeah, a lot of
Gathering data.
gathering data, right. Who do we contact when things go awry? As far as gated communities, Kathleen Schwann has been out for a while, but I did finally hear back from her. She said May and June were slow months, but they noticed a few area properties go under contract. Several home starts, several more in the permit process. At this point, any new build sold today will be closed next year. However, they have a solid backlog of 2018 closings that they're excited about. They also are planning to build spec houses on lot 66, a true ranch called the Vernon. On lot 40, a right townhouse with 3,830 square feet. French Colonial on lot 67 with 3,700 square feet, and a Merrill unit with a first floor owner's suite. That's the way they position it. 3-bedroom for 3,742. So tall grass is moving along. Obviously, we're encouraging them to sell a lot of lots, and if you drive through the property, there's a lot of things happening up there. Also reached out to Heather MacArthur, who is now with Premier Residential Management. That's the company that's the management company there. She said not much going on. 2 homes have been completed, 2 more are in progress. They're planning to seal coat their streets this year, and I'm trying to reach with Jim Riley, who's the board president of the HOA.
This isn't Tallgrass?
That's an enclave.
Enclave.
Yeah. Yeah, Tallgrass had a little bit with the streets, but I'm trying to catch up. Kathleen.
I would be okay for me to reach out to her to talk about coal tar-based sealants?
Sure. Oh, yeah. And reach out to Heather, who's with Premier Residential Management, if they're going to be doing the seal coating their streets. And LBS is just LBS. We have a lot of activities going on, outdoor concerts, indoor concerts. The pool is full, and all is well with the world. There have been 64 closings year to date, 19 more under contract. So there's been a lot of activity as far as sales of LBS. The average sale price is $261,000 year to date. That's it. And Robin, our deputy sheriff, last I saw was parked in the parking lot of the Featherly. Making sure that that's under control, I think, and watching traffic go on Kelsey Road.
Thank you, as always, for your comments.
Thank you.
Item H, roads and infrastructure, Trustee Perkins.
All I have is we are awaiting the repairs and work on Kelsey Road later this summer. Coming soon. That's all.
That's in July.
No, it's Lake County DOT. They'll be resurfacing. They say the fall. They won't give us a more, when it gets closer, we'll get a better date. But now it's fall.
Barrington?
Probably.
Whoops.
Well, I noticed on my drive over, I've been out of town for a long time, that some of my streets in the estates of Lake Barrington have seen some patching work done.
Yes, they
That
have.
looked very fresh.
That
I
was
knew.
courtesy of Cuba Township.
Was that like within the last few days?
Probably.
Yeah. Particularly those areas that I had continued to send you photographs of.
I put in a work order for it. That's what it's like. So they save up all the patching until they get a truckload full so that
Yeah.
they can get an order of asphalt and go through and do the patches.
Well, it was great. I mean, there were a couple of really big areas on the edges that were deteriorating, as you know. They just keep deteriorating unless they're patched. And then basically the black lab was beginning to disappear in the bottom of some of those holes and not come back out. So that was good. So thank you for that. Okay, that concludes the reports for the standing committees. Under 12, old business, we have none. So moving right on to agenda item 13, ordinances. And 13A, consideration of an ordinance authorizing the acquisition of certain real estate by the Village of Lake Barrington, Lake County, Illinois, approving a real estate purchase and gift agreement relative thereto, and authorizing the execution thereof. The board has been discussing this item at length for some time. In fact, we had considerable discussion again at the committee of the whole meeting. This property is 8.1 acres located at 23872 North Kelsey Road. Many of you watching at home might know this as under many different names, right? Federal property, the old web printing process controls, or what that was called. I think of it as the old Tudor hunting lodge, back from the early 1920s, I guess, that it dates back to.
Sure, held components spent a couple nights there.
It would appear that it's possible. This property has the potential to meet 5 major objectives stated in our comprehensive plan: improve connectivity of open space, being that it's contiguous to both property we own at the Friar Farm, contiguous to the forest preserve. It's really a wonderful spot to open that up. Enhance active recreation for residents to be determined. Protect existing trees and woodland areas and protect waterways. Purchase price is $445,000, which includes the demolition of the existing buildings on the property. And this price is consistent with the restricted appraisal report recently prepared on the village's behalf. As most people are aware, back in 2007, the village bonded for open space acquisition. And since its purchase Friar Farm and the Gibbs property, there's approximately $272,500 in this account, along with $172,000 in open space impact fees for a total of $444,500. So in essence, this purchase is going to be fully funded by existing open space monies, and no new monies are required for this purchase. So it works out quite outstandingly. Purchasing this property now ensures that the vacant building does not become an eyesore and will give the village time to seek grants and work with partners such as the Park and Forest Preserve districts for construction of enhancements for recreational purposes, again, to be determined. We had considerable discussion earlier. Is there any need for any additional discussion by anyone on the board seeking to have any further discussion?
I think as you emphasized, there was much discussion about this property at various prices and how to fund it, and the creativity of how to fund it is remarkable. It covers everything. So I think our constituents need to know that it's an additional piece of open space for the village, trying to accomplish what we try to accomplish from our motto and our positioning. But it's right now not coming at any additional expense other than funding, which we already have. We need to emphasize that.
Indeed, thank you. Any other comments, questions? If no, Chair is seeking a motion to approve ordinance number 2018-0-14. An ordinance approving and authorizing the acquisition of certain real estate by the village of Lake Barrington. Approve and authorize the execution of a real estate purchase and gift agreement relative thereto. Do I have such a
So moved.
Moved by Trustee Schaller.
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Perkins. Thank you. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Schaller?
Yes.
Trustee Perkins?
Yes.
Trustee Burke?
Yes.
Trustee Rigby? Trustee Thompson?
Yes.
Approved, thank you. Item 13B, credit card fees ordinance amendment. Do you want to set this up?
How about Attorney Bateman?
Mr. Bateman, would you like to?
So, from time to time, the village does have residents or other persons, builders, et cetera, who might want to charge permit fees or license fees, and they want to do so with a credit card. And state law enables us to charge a convenience fee for the use of credit cards, as long as we don't charge more than basically what we're charged by the credit card service we use, and the village will be using, I believe, ePay.
It looks like that.
Yeah, which is one that the state of Illinois has competitively selected, and that will enable us to charge modest convenience fees, but no more than is allowed by statute.
Thank you, Mr. Bateman. Does anyone have any questions on this issue? Again, we had significant discussion earlier. No further questions or comment, and Chair is looking for a motion to approve an ordinance number 2018-0-15, amending Chapter 3 of Title 4 of the Village of Lake Barrington Village Code. Do I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Moved by Trustee Rigby,
Second.
seconded by Trustee Thompson. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Rigby?
Aye.
Trustee Thompson?
Yes.
Trustee Burke?
Yes.
Trustee Perkins?
Yes.
Trustee Schaller?
Yes.
Thank you. Item 13C, code amendments, small cell wireless fees and plan commission chair salary. Would you like to set this up?
Sure, I'll do this one. These are two small changes to our village code. The first one, as a matter of years and years in tradition, we paid the plan commission chair a monthly stipend of $50, a monthly salary of $50 for chairing the plan commission. And it was recently discovered that was not codified. So this is just basically the codified practice that we do. The other part of this code amendment is to allow fees, application fees for small cell facilities. You recall last month we approved small cell amendments to our code. And this is again by state statute allowing no more than what the state statute would allow. So for their application fees for whether it's one or many small cell facilities.
This basically clarifies the fee schedule that was in the last ordinance we adopted last month and makes a slight correction.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the board on this issue? If no, Chair seeks a motion to approve an ordinance amending Section 1-78-5, Bond and Salary of Title I, Administration, and certain portions of Title VI, Public Ways and Property in the chart set forth in Section 1-10-7, fees, charges, deposits, and other amounts payable to the village contained in Chapter 10, fees and deposits of Title I, Administration of the Village of Lake Barrington Village Code. Do I have such a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Trustee Schaller.
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Perkins. Thank you. Would the clerk kindly please call the roll?
Trustee Schaller. Trustee Perkins.
Yes.
Trustee Burke.
Yes.
Trustee Rigby. Trustee Thompson.
Yes.
Approved. Thank you very much. Agenda item 14, resolutions. There are none. Item 15, there is no new business. Item 16 is the second opportunity for the public to address the village. Is there anyone seeking recognition? I see no one. There is also no need, I understand, for closed session tonight, or other. So we move quickly to item 19, which is adjournment. Chair would like to seek a motion to adjourn the meeting. Do I have such a motion, please?
So moved.
Moved by Trustee Perkins. Do I have a second? Second by Trustee Schaller. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Meeting is adjourned.